October 19th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini under 2000 tick chart. This is how I saw the charts today. There was only two pieces of economic data that came out. One was at 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is about right here, which is the unemployment claims. Didn't really seem to move the market. And then what happened was around 9 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is right about here, Jerome Powell came out and gave some color commentary at a conference, and he spoke for about an hour. And as you can see, it created a lot of whipsaw action. Today, there was just a lot of swings and a lot of volatility. I took a total of 6 trades. There's actually a seventh trade that occurred. That one was a mistake. I'll explain it when I get there. But I took a total of 6 trades. I feel like I overtraded. There's 3 wins and 3 losses. So it was kind of like I'm actually in the red because of that seventh trade, which I'll describe a little bit later, was a losing trade. And that was kind of an unforced error. Something happened at home, and I'll get to it when I get there. This is what the markets look like today. This is the pre-market high and the pre-market low. It looked like it was within this range most of the time, and at the end, it kind of sold off. There was a lot of big swings, and unfortunately, if you didn't, uh, there was kind of a lot of possible entries that I saw today, and I'm going to go through them. But I didn't take any more trades after a certain time just because I felt like I was just kind of being thrown around. So I'm going to try to go through the trades quickly so the video doesn't end up too long. This is the pre-market, mark the pre-market lows and the pre-market highs. There's 2 legs up, and this is the first trade that I saw on the open. Creates a triple top up here, so this is technically a new high. It's a first entry long, second entry long. Now this is a good signal bar, but it's below the EMA. Right now, all I see is I'm in a potential trading range with a bullish bias. So there is a chance it will go up, but it just opened right at the open, or set up right at the open of the regular trading hour. So this is only 28 seconds in, and I wasn't mentally prepared to try to take this trade, especially on this setup that is somewhat iffy, because this could be just seen as one leg up as opposed to first leg, pullback, second leg. So I left it alone. Then prices continue moving, kind of falls into this range. And the second setup that I saw was actually right here. It's a new low. It's a first entry short, pulls back, creates a second entry short. What caught my attention was, okay, the signal bar is terrible, but it's bouncing off the EMA. It's the first break of this green channel, so it made one attempt down, and this could be the second attempt down. But when you first see this, I didn't have an order ready because this bar is too bullish. And as soon as this one closed, I thought, oh, I wish this bar was actually red, and this one could have been red, but it's just the first break, and I was thinking it's going to make another push down. So it's the first attempt. So the signal bar wasn't good, and I didn't want to take it after the close of this trigger bar, just because even though there's just enough room for a scalp, it felt a little early, so I left this one alone. Prices then continue chopping. I think I see it coming into a range. The range I actually had was a little bit lower here, and then later I dragged it up. So this is actually what my trading range looked like at the time. This is actually the first trade that I take. It's a new low. It's first entry short, second entry short, and it flashed up. So I see this is a second entry short failure. Now, what happened was I entered on the next candle. I didn't wait for this trigger bar to close. So when it confirms it was a failure, you notice that it actually just ticks up, 1 tick, 2 tick, and then it flashed down. So that already, I was already in the trade, and it made me kind of regret it. And I should have considered that the prices were at the top of this range, and the failure of the second entry short was right here, 1, 2. It was kind of started below the EMA. So ideally, it would have been, completely below, like first entry short, second entry short, and then it'd feel more confident. But it's kind of above now, so it made it a little bit mixed. And once the failure was confirmed, I should have waited for this candle to close. Ideally, it would have closed like up here. Then I would know the failure is strong enough to push out. But again, I'm fighting against the trading range. And as you can see, I got stopped out right here, 1 tick below my original signal bar. So I should have just waited for a lower high confirmation. Now, technically, this could have been the lower high, higher low if I wanted to go long. So unfortunately, I got bit on that one. And then I saw this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. Now, this is actually, it broke down and it rallied all the way back up. And I thought this is probably a possible trade. It's a good signal bar. It's bounced off the bottom of this range at this point, and there's enough room to the top. But I was just coming off of this loss. And so this is only 1 minute later, and I wasn't mentally prepared to try to just jump in on this trade. Then I do see this higher low though. So first entry long, second entry long pulls back, closes. This higher low, I actually jump on it because it confirms the second entry long. Now this is funny enough, this is at 655 and this is at 658. So I was able to recover and think, well, I think I'm still right. And I entered one tick above, actually one at the same high as this one, entered, and it flashed up and got me filled. Now, I will admit this is a little bit aggressive. Ideally, this signal bar should have closed a little bit higher. Then I would have felt more confident because I am still pressing up against the same trading range. But as soon as I got out, then I thought maybe the trading range is slightly higher, so I dragged it up to here. Then it continues chopping around, breaks down. Okay, so this is where the errant trade happened. So actually what happened was I didn't intend to drop an order here. I had an order ready, and as uh, this was forming, my kid threw his toy submarine on my keyboard, and that actually didn't make me enter the trade. What made me enter the trade was I had the order ready and I was about to drop it down, but I would decide I didn't want to. But when that distraction happened, I accidentally dropped it, and then it kind of flashed down and took me out. So this is an errant trade that actually made me lose money, but it shouldn't have happened. So I'm not counting it against my score of whether I'm got a good trade or a profitable trade or not profitable trade. But yes, it does affect my P&L at the end. So this trade, there's no setup. There's nothing here. This is just errant. Prices then continue moving. It falls into this range, kind of breaks out. It goes up this green channel, breaks down, continues chopping. It falls into this yellow channel coming down. I used to have 1, 2 confirmations, and I'm thinking, okay, I see a new high here. Visually, I have a first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Now, when it's already having trouble the first time it hit, I'm thinking there could be a potential failed second entry long on the visual. And I also think that this could have been a failed breakout pullback. So that's what I was seeing in real time, but I wasn't 100% sure. I did like the EMA rejection, and when it flashed down, it confirmed, but I wasn't ready to take a trade. It just, once it broke down below, it just felt a little bit late, so I just sat there and watched. Prices then continue moving down. Turned out it would have been a wonderful trade. Even if you had a runner and you just kept it one tick below or one tick behind, you would have eventually gotten out here. Prices then continue chopping up. So this is actually one profitable trade, excuse me, one losing trade, one profitable trade, an errant trade. So right now I'm just one loss, one win. Then I have a new high, so first entry long, second entry long. I also saw this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now this second entry long hasn't formed yet. The failed second entry short hasn't formed yet. So everything depends on this next candle. But I just saw this setting up and I was thinking there's one push up, one push down. So it's a break of this. It's pushing one, pushing two. If it flashes up, then that might have been the first push down, second push down to attempt to test this low. And it does, it confirms a second entry long and failed second entry short. By the time this candle forms, it feels too late. And it was bouncing off what I believe was some kind of support right here, but I just didn't have the trade ready just because it was a little bit foggy for me. Then prices then continue moving. I'm thinking the trading range is actually the top here and the bottom here. Helps around, you do have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but there's no real clean setup here. It's just a little congested. Continues chopping, flashes down, and when it touches 1, 2, 3, I draw this overlapping trading range, thinking this could actually be a bigger trading range. Here I do see a new high, first entry long, second entry long, makes a double top. I also see a potential triple test. So it's one touch, two touch, and I counted all this as a third touch. And I thought this might have been a potential trade. And if I was thinking of taking a trade, I would have put it one tick above. It looks like it would have gotten filled and I would have gotten the scalp. Unfortunately, I just didn't take that trade though. The prices continue chopping around. It looks like it's staying within this range. I don't want to, I don't see any good setups at the moment, so I just kind of left it alone. Technically, you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, and you have a failure, but you're kind of in the middle of the range, so it's hard to really know which direction it's going to go, because right now they're both, have valid entries if you want to take a short or a long. And I don't like trying to play one off the other necessarily. It breaks out, goes back in, so this looks like a failed breakout here, comes up, touches the top, double top, then it actually starts moving up. So I saw this as a spike and a channel, and I just drew this yellow channel. I first matched the tops, and then I dragged it down and it looked like it fit somewhat down here. Prices then continue moving up. It breaks out, Looks like the EMA is holding. I have a first entry long. Technically, I have a second entry long and then a failure, but I didn't like this signal bar as a second entry long. It's right at the EMA. It's doji. And thinking of a failure, I wasn't too sure about a failure yet because you want, after prices broke out of this, it's looking to test the highs and only attempted once. So to go long off a terrible doji felt risky, but then to go short, you're not sure if it's still going to come up and test the highs. And then prices continue chopping, floats up. It creates this weird choppy action, but this is also when Jerome Powell started his press conference and he's just kind of giving color commentary. It seemed like the market liked it. It flashes up, chops around. I'm just trying to stay out of this because from here it's 9 o'clock to 9:04. This is only 4 minutes and there's all these candles being formed. And anything he says, the market could take it as positive or negative, even if the context of what he's saying is positive or negative. So I just left it alone. This is already 7 minutes in, 8 minutes, and I just marked this just to see it, but I didn't want to take this trade. There's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Now, I thought the second entry short is actually a decent setup, but again, this is when Jerome Powell's still speaking, so I just want to be very careful with it. If you're more aggressive, you would see this as a potential first break of this green down channel with a potential push and test of the low. It's a decent signal bar. So if I was thinking of taking this trade and Jerome Powell wasn't talking, then I would have entered one tick below here. It looks like he would have gotten a quick scalp. Then it continues chopping around and he speaks for a good 50 minutes. Then prices continue moving up. So he's still talking right now and the market's trying to digest everything he's saying. I did see a lower high here. There's a new high. And so this lower high, I don't think is, I saw it as a potential trade because you can see this as one leg up, even though you have a first entry short right here. I saw this as just one leg up, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. But if you counted it as very distinct technical count, then it's first entry short, pullback, second entry short, pullback, and this would be your lower high because it's slightly lower than this. So whether you count this as a second entry short or a lower high, there is a trade here, but I thought it was aggressive because right now the market is trending up. So it, depending on how you counted it, you could justify it, and there's enough room to get to the bottom, but it's also near the bottom of this trading range. So as I said, it's more of an aggressive trade. Maybe if this candle was red and this one followed up with being more red, then I might have considered a possible trade. Looks like it would have worked. Flashes down, falls into this range as it continues down. I don't see any good clean setups that I like. I do see this as a second entry short, new low, first entry short, pullback. Technically, second entry short forms right here. But I didn't like this signal bar, and it was kind of, at this point, you only see this. So you don't really have a triple test yet. So this is first entry short, second entry short, terrible signal bar, not the best. Trigger bar actually moves up, so it makes it look like it could potentially fail. Here, for sure, it causes a failure. So it's just a little jarbled. I'm glad I didn't try to take this trade. Prices then continue moving down. So this is kind of a sell-off now. So you saw this big rally, and then it recovered everything. This is when Jerome Powell's pretty much just giving his color commentary, and it's causing all kinds of whipsaw action. I do want to say, if you did take this trade, you could argue that this push up is like a visual first entry short pullback. Even though there's a second entry short here, you can see it as a second entry short here, but it made a triple bottom here. So even if you said this is a second entry short, it didn't touch the EMA just right. If it went up, touched it, then I would have say, okay, there's touch and it goes below, triple test, good signal bar, but all those did not come together enough for me to feel confident on this trade. If you're more aggressive and you entered one tick below, that would have been a pretty nice trade. And then prices again continue moving down, goes into this range. It's kind of choppy. It breaks out. These candles are just too tight right now. Breaks up, comes back down, and it chops again kind of horizontally. You do have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but it's a terrible signal bar. This is actually a trade that I took, and this one, I gotta have to kind of explain my thinking. This is a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. So in real time, this is what I saw. I drew this, and I said, okay, there's some kind of support here. As soon as this candle opened, I scrambled to try to get an entry, and I was able to. The reason I like to go long here is after the close of this, the next candle, you notice it gapped up. It opened up higher than where it closed. There's this obviously a big gap. I wanted to see it close and move back up. So when it flashed down, I scrambled to get my order in, and I was able to just enter on a market order because I like when this closes and it gaps up and it closes and it moves. It tells me that there's probably enough momentum for a quick scalp, at least before it hits the top. So I entered and I was lucky to get filled. And I was pretty confident after 3 touches, first entry short, second entry short, a failure, especially a strong failure like this, there's probably enough momentum to get to carry me through. Now, ideally, it would have closed higher because it opened here and eventually closed here, so it flashed around. So I was able to get in, get my quick scalp. As you can see, it broke past the previous high. So I've noticed in the past that this type of setup kind of yields a continuation in the direction that it was going. So when it gaps like that, I just kind of keep that in mind. Then prices continue moving up. It hits the top of this trading channel. So I drew this, and at first I wasn't exactly sure where this was going to be. So I actually had it lower here. Then when it dwelled so long afterwards, I dragged it up to here. I saw this as a second entry long hidden. I didn't want to take a trade off of it, but I just like to point them out for myself. It's a first entry long pullback on the life of this candle, went back down, and ideally it should have closed up higher. Then it would have been a for sure second entry long hidden, but then it creates a second entry long here. So first entry long pullback, second entry long. But I didn't want to take a trade off of it, even though it is coming off a key entry point. Prices then continue moving up, hits the top, comes back down. This is actually where I take my, well, fifth trade if you counted that bogus one. It's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. This is where I took my trade. I saw this and I was thinking there's a decent setup. Even though I didn't touch the EMA, I should have been more patient. When this one flashed up, it dwelled a little bit above, and that's where I dropped in my order. I should have waited for this candle to close, but when I dropped in my order and it closed down here, I instantly regretted it. And of course, it stops me out, so that was foolish. But then it went first entry long, visual, discounting the big wick here, second entry long. Now, second entry long forms here. I like that it's bouncing off the bottom of this green channel. And I actually entered one tick above this. It's a little late though. It chops around and then it gets me filled. And I was just looking to get out before it hit the localized top. So ideally this entry, so this second entry long visual, I wanted to make sure this candle closed above this in such a way that it's confirmed second entry. So after this close, this trade is a little late. What could have been better is if this candle ended green, then I would have entered on this candle because it does have a couple things going for it, the EMA and this upward support. So this was a little riskier, but it ended up paying off and I was able to get green after the red that just happened right here. But again, I'll admit the risk reward was kind of big because I did have to keep my entry right here all the way down here below this candle and not below this one because I wanted to keep it below this candle to just ensure it got enough room. Because if I kept it below this one, green one, there's a potential it'd come down to the EMA, bounce, and then go back up and take me out. But I was only going for 1 point and the risk reward was not really the best because it's 43.50. My exit or stop loss was like 45, 43.45. So already that's pretty close to 5 points to just get 1 point. So this is not a good trade to have taken. Then prices continue moving up, chops through, keeps going. We're just kind of watching and waiting now. It kind of enters this consolidation area. You could argue, yes, there's a first entry long, second entry long, it's a bad signal bar. It's already near the top of where the trading range could be. Continues chopping, and this is actually where I take my pretty much my last trade of the day. I saw a new high. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long off of this signal bar. It's also a new low, first entry short, second entry short, and this is also a failed second entry short. So when I saw this, I had my order ready because I'm thinking go long. I go long, one tick above, it fills me, comes down, and then traps me out. And again, I kept my exit, my stop loss way down here. I was expecting a big move back up to here, get at least maybe 1 or 2 points out. And this is my last trade, and it ended up being a loser. So I had 3 wins and 3 losses, and technically a 7th trade. So I actually had 4 losses, but off that mistaken entry. And at this point, I just decided I'm not quite in tune. I'm over trading. I should just kind of leave it for the day. And that's kind of what I did. So just kind of sat and watched for the rest of the day as prices just kind of continue moving down. Goes into this trading range. It's kind of ugly. You do have a new low here, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but you can see one push down, pull up, second push down, but there's no setup here. It's not a very good signal bar. By the time this one closes, it's pretty bearish. Close below the EMA, you could argue that there's a trade here and it's entering this trading range again. So I saw it, but I didn't process it in time. Prices continue moving down. It just gets really sideways. It enters this trading range, and then it's just very choppy. I don't like anything in here. It comes up, comes back down, chops, and touches a third time. So I'm thinking there's a larger trading range. Comes down, touches again, chops around. You could say there's a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is a terrible signal bar. Continues chopping. It falls back into this smaller range with these two big overshoots. It's a little confusing for me to see. And I see new low, first entry short, pullback. Technically, the second entry short's right here. It's a hidden. First entry short, pulls back, makes one tick above, and then comes back down. Second entry short. The problem with the second entry short hidden is there's no room to scalp out before you hit this clearly support line down here. So it's just saying, stay away. Breaks out, breaks through. I do see another second entry short here. It's a new low. First entry short, second entry short. I don't like the looks of this signal bar though. I wanted to close a little lower. Turns out it would have worked. Because this tells me like if I were to put my entry here, it's outside this trading range and it could be a fail breakout. Prices could be coming back in because it's making higher lows. So what's to say this won't end up being another higher low and prices moving back in. Then prices continue moving down. I find another hidden second entry short. It's a new low here. First entry short pulls up, ticks one tick above and flashes down. So it trapped anybody that decided to go long, but I'm not sure why you would even think of going long. So it's a hidden second entry short. But to go short feels risky because you're pushing to the new lows. The prices continue moving down, goes into this consolidation area. And I'm just kind of watching. Falls into what I think is a green channel, goes down. This is just very, very congested right now. It's a new second entry short here. Technically, it's a new low here. First entry short, second entry short. This is a decent signal bar. The problem with the second entry short is it's a first break above this green channel. So it's first break, one push down. You could expect a second push down. And it's also first time it broke above the EMA. It just feels very tight though. You do have enough room for a scalp. So this is a possible trade, but I think it was just a little bit aggressive because you're already having a clear support here that's tested previously. The prices continue moving. I do see a second entry long here, new high, first entry long, second entry long. This is a good signal bar. But you're just coming off this big sell-off that just happened. And even though you're coming off the lows, I just didn't feel too warm and fuzzy about this. And I thought after this break, it made one push up, second push up. And you can see on a larger visual, it could be one push down, second push down. So it's a little confusing if it's going to go long or short. So I left it alone. You do have a higher low here. Higher low is confirming the second entry long, but it feels like I'm running into the localized high. So I had to leave it alone. Then it kind of chops around. It goes into this consolidated area where it's just congested. There's a very shallow green channel coming down. Breaks through. There's a failed breakout potential here. Comes up, comes back out. Now I'm wondering if this downward trend channel or this trading range is more dominant. Because if the channel is more dominant, then I'm thinking prices are going to continue down, which has been the theme for the day. Or if this failed breakout, it might come back in. But right now I'm leaning more bearish. Drops through, then actually moves back in. So I'm just kind of sitting on my hands. It's also getting late in the day. I just don't want to deal with this because this is getting really whipsaw now. Technically, there are some second entry shorts in here, but to be honest, this is so late in the day, I just kind of didn't really trust any second entries that I saw. And as you can see, it just kind of dwells and then chops into the close. And this is only like 4 minutes of trading. Actually, this is the last 10 minutes. You can see how many candles there are. It's kind of hard to really trust price action because it gets too volatile toward the end of the day. So kind of how I saw the trades today, 3 wins, 3 losses with a 1 trade after those or before in the middle of those. That was just kind of this weird incident that happened. So hopefully that was helpful.